I realized that, oh my God, our budget is already $500,000 per month. Where we get this money from? I don't know. We started learning to build a charitable foundation. Okay, Lord, I understand this is not the end. 50 families, 50 children, 100 families that we need to feed. 2 weeks in our apartment and we made a fire there so the smoke wouldn't be seen. We want to remain the way God sees us.
Hello, everyone. My name is Andre, and you are watching Volunteer About Volunteers again. And today I have Alina as my guest, who takes care of children. Hi.
Hello?
How are you?
Everything is fine.
Yes, we're recording in the morning. Thank you very much for coming to us. Can you tell us a little about yourself, about the organization, and then we'll talk.
Okay, I'm Alina, just an ordinary Alina, who simply has the desire to do everything so that people's full lives continue. We have a charitable foundation that was working long before the war. Long before the war, we helped children and cared only for children. Children from low-income families, children who needed our support. Just one day, my friend and I but knew that in one of the districts of the city of Amur, there is such a park, Amur Park, where children, they all summer just don't know what to do.
Let's put it this way. It's a district in Dnipro that isn't very
Good.
good.
That has always been famous, probably still sometimes is, for some kind of criminal history. And this?
But the name is Amur.
Yes, Amur, a name of love. And we saw that there is a park where children gather every summer. They are left to themselves. They lack some parental care, and they need help. We came there, collected. We had a small banner. We had children. What were we called? Children of the Future, I think. And we were simply called Children of the Future on the banner. We bought the banner there, rented a sweep machine, and just came up with some program, a program aimed at doing good.
Hello, it's just an initiative.
6 years ago, it was just an initiative to go outside, and Lara is the co-founder of the foundation. Together we created this foundation, Children of the New Generation. She worked with children before. I never did this. And we just went to the park, just organized a celebration and saw that 60 children came. We were shocked, and we were like, well, someone is interested in this. They need it. And they were so happy, so cool. They wanted some treats there. They were having a great time. We liked it, and we started doing it. We did it all summer long. We did it, and saw that there were so many of them. 60, no less.
Where did you find the money?
From men, from people. Well, at first it was, give money, give this, give that. It was like that. Such an initiative supported us. We were in the church then, and maybe some of the guys who weren't indifferent just chipped in 50 hryvnias, 100, and did it.
Wait, did you say church?
Yes.
Let's talk about this in more detail because it's interesting. Well, I know, but our audience aren't really in the loop. Are you a religious person?
Yes, I am.
Are you a representative of any denomination?
I am a representative of the Christian church. People are more precious than gold.
That's the name of our church. Christians, the classic version. But more modern.
Yes.
And you were in church and decided, I also want to engage in volunteering, charity.
Well, I decided to try something new, to try that. I was in the church, and I came to the church to change my life, my inner state, because my inner state was nowhere good. I felt bad, and whatever I did in this world, I earned money, and I didn't earn it, and I was at the peak of my expectations, and I was at the bottom of my life, right? And I just came to the church to search for the meaning of my life. I found God, found the meaning of my life in the church, and wanted to do something that believers do, who seemed to me the happiest people in the world. Because I didn't see people who could just rejoice in life for no reason, without having anything for it. Because it used to seem to me that in this life, I needed to achieve everything I dreamed of, and even more. But sometimes my dreams did not match reality, and this upset me a lot. I just one day saw that Lara, she loves children, she wants to do some initiatives, and I wanted to go with her to this park. And that's how my charity story began. I started to see that, When you help someone, you can feel joy. You don't need to have $1 million to be happy. You don't need to drink. You don't need to change your perception of this world to be happier. You can just see these children, that they need you. I like this feeling. I saw meaning in it all summer. We found money. I started to be a bit of a fundraiser. How to find them? From close circles. Gradually, we collected and realized when summer ended that they needed us, that these children needed support. What to do? Summer ended. Amer Park. You can't do anything there in winter. We rented a small space at the basement, and there was very, very scary. We also decided to take a risk. Somewhere, I don't remember. Well, somewhere we also collected some money and rented a place, a small bus. We already talked to the parents, got to know everyone, and took these children to this place to throw them a party. Then, when we entered this space, well, it's summer. The kids are running around outside, and some have torn t-shirts. Well, of course it's summer. But when we saw that it was December, and these children, some came without socks, some came, in very terrible clothing. We realized that these children needed more than a celebration, that they needed support. We started getting to know them, began asking how things were, and wanted to meet their families. And we started introducing them to their families. That's how it was. Our foundation started with what we had. We had 80 children then. Every week we brought them to celebrations, and about 30 children among them needed our help. We met one family and realized there was a big problem. The mother has cancer, and they have no food because she needs to eat something special. And the child, she can't eat this special food anymore because there's something special there, like bulgur and some other thing. And they don't have enough money because they spend everything on treatment. In another family, there are 5 children. The father is alcohol dependent. The mother cannot go to work because, all our pressing stories. And we started to see something more. And then our Instagram started to gain momentum. And people began to say, let's help. And our first collection on Instagram, we just opened the foundation's page there. Well, it was with Valeria, but it wasn't really working. Well, we started a fundraiser. We were raising money for a bed because we visited one of our girls. They have 6 children. And just so you understand, the father behaved very terribly. They didn't have windows. They were covered with cellophane. And there was a hole cut in the cellophane for him to smoke through. In short, it was very terrible. I didn't know such things existed in our country. I didn't know that people live like this. And I saw that there is another side of the world. I thought such a story existed only somewhere in Mumbai. But it is. And we collected. On the bed, this family had our first gathering. And that's it. That's how our charitable life began. We started doing this. Later, we had under our care to...
Was this already official work? Or was it just a volunteer story?
Officially, we started working in 2021 because we began to grow. Well, it was like that. We were part of one NGO, a non-governmental organization. That's right. Then we started doing a bit with them, looking for their support. But it was unclear. I didn't understand at all what needed to be done. I had no idea what an NGO or charitable organization was, or how to handle all these documents. I just wanted to help these children. I saw their eyes. We prepared food ourselves, delivered food packages to them every week. We had such a story on Instagram. Every Wednesday, I would sit and tackle Instagram. And our dear people, and many from my Instagram know this. There are many followers from all over the country. Our kind people, let's help. Today we are raising 300 hryvnias for a food package. You can make life better. I clearly remember those moments of mine. And on Wednesday we collected money, and on Friday we visited them. Every family. We had the 1st of September and New Year. We had a great campaign, and now it's on a different scale. Feed a child. We collected packages, and give a child Christmas. And we collected gifts for each child that they wanted. Well, in general, it was such a cool period of time where I understood where life was leading me, where God was directing me. And I liked it.
And when you were working with the children there, was it also, was it a religious direction as well?
Well, I wouldn't say, yes, religious, but in the sense that each meeting had its own theme. We didn't want to just hold these meetings, children's celebrations, just for the sake of it. We had an interesting story when we were looking for a venue. Every season, in summer and then in autumn, We searched for a venue, and each time we changed these venues. And once I needed a venue, I was fundraising for it, looking for someone who could provide it, and a friend of ours let us use it. You know, we have a yoga center, Orion, in Dnipro. Well, in general, there is such a yoga center, and we were looking for a space there. It's just, it's a period of understanding what we need to do. We found a space, a great hall. I think, great. Our kids have never seen such a hall. They will really like it. Great, cool place. We made an agreement with this lady, Lyudmila. And then our 80 children arrive, like this. And the children they rush into this hall, start feeling at home. I see, right there is the reception desk, and this Lyudmila, who is barely holding onto the table, almost losing consciousness, realizing what she has done, and that all over the corridor there are these posh ladies of a different status. They brought their children, and everything is like this, such a surreal scene. And I see this Lyudmila, these moms, and our children. And it was we held the celebration. Everything took place. And what I say is that this celebration was aimed at a theme that cultivated in them some different qualities. The theme of goodness, the theme of help, the theme of see. And it was based on the Bible. Yes, the foundation was the children's Bible. There were great biblical stories that we used to educate these children, giving them other principles that they didn't have in their lives. And then in the evening, Lyudmila calls me. Aha, what? I think, don't you have a heart? Couldn't you let these children in? Open your heart? Help with your one-sided thinking? You were watching then. She calls me and says, listen, well, this was of course a horror for me. But why don't you help them socialize in this life? I was like, well, something turned inside. You are doing such a great thing. You feed them, you give them the opportunity to experience childhood, you care for them. Give them the opportunity to pave their way in this life. Help them become someone in this society. Show them the other side. Show that in movies, people behave like in movies. In establishments, they behave like in establishments, there, in the theater. Give them a strong social side that they lack.
Culture?
Culture. The culture of perception. Don't just give them the fish, but give them the fishing rod. Show them another life, that people can work, that they can learn, that they can behave themselves. And I'm like, ta-da! Indeed, we can do something more. We can do more than just feed, more than just entertain. We can give them an opportunity, provide some direction, teach them English, some tools, something else. And there was such a shift in my consciousness when I realized that it's great what we're doing these Bible hours, teaching them some other truth that wasn't there. But it's great to build them up in this society so they are not outcasts. And so we started doing that for some time. And there was a dream to have our own space. Our own rented space, so we wouldn't have to wander around. Although these wanderings taught us something, still. We managed to rent a space 6 months before this full-scale terrible war. And it was a nightmare. Because, it was a semi-basement space, a former sauna. And money.
A sacred place. I apologize for this joke.
We are always led by God to where we need to pray because we have many such former saunas or former nightclubs. And we came to a former sauna, terrible, gray. It was just a horror. But when I went there, I thought, this is it. That's all. When you are like this, faith taught me to extract something valuable from something insignificant. The Bible taught me to see some positive sides in everything. And when I entered this place, to the eyes of a normal person, it was a horror. Because in our account, there was, maybe 5 hryvnias, No, we had 8,000 hryvnias, all collected. 8,000 hryvnias that we had, and that's it. And I was still negotiating with the owner of this place, because I understood that I had 8,000 for the first month. And what's next? God will help. Such a regular story for us. And I remember I entered this hall and thought, that's it. How we will do this? I don't know. But this is the place we need. We went there and started our faith. We have this saying, a place in the Bible, that faith without works is dead. Faith without deeds is dead. And we started turning our faith into actions. We found this place, started looking for money, and paid for the first month's rent.
You are still together, right?
Yes. There were 3 of us, me, Valeria, and Igor. He is the pastor of our church, Valeria's husband. He is the head of the foundation. I am the deputy head of the foundation's board.
Is it the pastor?
Yes,
Godson.
yes, the pastor of the church. People are more precious than gold. The three of us came and started building it. We gathered funds, I don't know, somehow supernaturally, agreed with the owner that we would always pay 8,000 hryvnias. Please, this is your good deed in your life. There were 180 square meters. They cost something like 20,000.
Forgiveness of sins, right?
I don't talk about it because I don't believe that you can somehow write off your sins like that. But I say that he was a great man who saw some sincerity in us. I say, okay, let's make it 8,000, at least for electricity and such things. We started doing repairs there. Now I look at his photo and think, God, what a horror. But back then, it was the most wonderful thing that could be. We laid carpet. We did something with the walls there. There was also marble that couldn't be hidden. Well, anyway, we covered it with something, and that's it. Children began coming there with their families. We started socializing them, developing them, awakening them there.
What exactly were you doing there?
We also held celebrations and conducted some activities there. English language, playing instruments, singing.
And where did you find the specialists?
You had volunteers, psychologists, people, craftswomen. There's Anya. We had a mosaic studio in Dnipro.
I know her.
She is a very cool friend of ours. She always conducted a master class. Well, what about us? It was an Instagram project. To show what we do, we tried to attract people to come and help. We just understood that it was the year 2021. People started to bring us some things, goods, clothes, etc., and we need to have some kind of status. We started to operate in such a legal field to have a fund. We realized that we couldn't do without it, that we needed it. I don't know. Back then, I didn't really understand. There was this urge inside. Well, we had to do it. And so we appeared legally as a fund. Children of the future, everything was taken.
Do you know how they make Children of the Future 89?
There was a lot. And we are like children of a new generation. Okay, let's go.
Is there a difference between a regular fund and a religious fund? I mean,
No. A Christian fund and a non-Christian fund, it is not viewed from a different perspective in terms of bureaucracy or legal.
there is no legal, in short, divine support, right?
No, but physically it is very large. Physically, spiritually, morally. And there is a foundation. Legally, no. For me too. This is generally a separate painful topic for me when I say, why? I understand why. Because many foundations operate undercover. Well, we understand this. And unfortunately, this extends to those foundations that truly operate. So when we took this space, it really triggered me. I thought, oh, a basement space. You know, when we lived normally, it was kind of embarrassing. Well, not exactly embarrassing, but not how I would have liked it to be.
Either shoe repair or a fund or, well, yeah.
Yes. And you're like, well, all right. And there was also a shower, because we renovated the sauna everywhere. But we never had enough funds for this shower, so we made it a storage room. And a week before the war started, I thought, ugh, this shower, it's so annoying. It needs to be turned into some kind of little office. I wanted to reformat it. But as I say, my plans are not God's plans. He saw more. And there was this shower that always annoyed everyone. But when the war started, this center. It was a children's center. So when the war and the full-scale invasion began, this center became a shelter for people. On the first day of the war, I didn't understand what would happen. I am from Donetsk. I am from the occupied, well, now occupied territory. I am from Hernik.
From Donetsk itself?
I am from Donetsk itself. I am from the city of Hernik. At 16 years old, I came to Donetsk, got married there, lived with my husband, and led my uneventful life. But in 2014, my uneventful life ended there, and I began my life. Searching for my life before how I feel today. And I would, no matter what anyone says. But the person who lived through those events back then, I didn't fully understand what was happening. I didn't take it as seriously as I did at the beginning of this full-scale war. And on the first day, I had one fear. I thought, what will our children do now? I didn't understand that it was terrible that the war had started, that there would be horror, that everything...
You were thinking about something else, in your case, children.
I thought today was Wednesday.
They have English today.
Today is my day to ask for funds for food packages. And the war started, and I understand that those people in Kharkiv, in Odessa, in Kyiv, everywhere, who helped us, they won't help anymore. Well, that's it. I'm like, the war started, we have no money. Our children need help. Who will feed them? That's the end of the world. I was only thinking about the children, 57 families, 50 children, 100 families that we need to feed. And that's it. I was driving home in depression like, oh, what to do? How will they eat? And what will our children's center do now? And well, I was also driving with thoughts. My children were there in the town of Hernik. It's 20 kilometers, 30 kilometers from Donetsk. I understood that it would start there now, and that's it. I didn't know how to take them, and in short, I was driving in such depression. It's clear that life has come to an end. You know, even a believer is a bit like, well, that's it. What to do? I can't see with my eyes. So what to do? And I hadn't even reached home yet when my phone rang. Our good friend Serhiy is calling. I don't know. I have a lot of ads here. He said,
Let's do it.
you can use that if needed. Serhiy, Ministry of Doors. You know, we have such a...
He really supports my friends in the League of Laughter.
Yes, Serhiy calls and says, Alina, how are you? He was helping our small fund. He installed doors for us, for the center. He used to buy Christmas trees for Christmas and New Year. He was such a benefactor of our foundation. And he was the first to call me and say, how are you? I said, not really good. He said, how are your children? I said, bad. Everything is bad. And he said, well, my driver will come now and bring you money. I was like, thinking, oh, come on. What? Well, I thought 1,000. Well, 2. Okay. Obviously, it's great, but it wouldn't help. I just want to convey my state.
I understand what you mean.
My state. Like, disappointment. Everything. My state of disbelief. Even as a believer. A person. I was thinking that everything is over. Even this money, it won't help. We have 50 families. We need at least 10,000. Well, where to get this money now? To whom? And his driver arrives and hands me the money. And I see that it's not 2,000. But, well, a lot of money. And I just take it without words. I return home, get in the elevator, and think, okay, Lord, I understand. This is not the end. We will not die. Our children will eat. Our children will not be hungry. I arrive home in this elevator, still counting the money. It was 20,000 hryvnias. This is in the context of how we always, do this. Like 2 months of feeding the children. I start calling Lara. Yes, the pastor. Everything's great. We have money. Let's go buy, feed. Where are they? Come on, it's war. They will be happy. Rejoice that we support them. And that was my first day of the war when I realized, aha, so God, you have other plans for us. So it's not just for nothing. And that's how it happened, because we grew a lot. And
then you reformatted. I understand that you turned this space into a shelter.
we turned this space into a shelter. This happened when we realized that it was a basement and safe. The walls there, I don't know, are 1 meter thick. The ceiling is 1 meter thick. It's in the basement. And the children we cared for...
Is this a residential building or...
No, it's rather an office building. I'm saying that the first floor used to be, 10 years ago, the first floor was a sauna, and the second had some office spaces.
Probably the police.
I don't know.
That's his joke, huh? Well, okay.
The point is that it was a safe place. Everyone was scared, didn't know what awaited us. We saw what was happening. We saw Mariupol. We saw this horror and expected the worst. And the children who were in Dnipro, their families began to ask for help. Can we stay overnight at your center? We know it's safe there. And the shelter started with such a thing when we had 5 families with small and many children stay overnight.
In Dnipro? They were scared.
Because they were scared. And the first 2 or 3 days we spent together. In this shelter, we stayed overnight with them. We supported them and were there. But around the 5th day, people from Mariupol got in touch. And our foundation's leader's mother was in Mariupol. We were looking for them. Couldn't find them. Someone got in touch and asked for help to pick them up. We were looking for someone who could pick them up. Unfortunately, no one could at that time, as we didn't have a community where we could find volunteers. Well, it was a nightmare. We had a guy named Dmitro. He said, "Give me a car. I'll go. I'm not afraid." And then we quickly, using our own resources on the internet, guys, let's buy a car. We bought a Daewoo Nexia. And on the first day, he evacuated 17 people from Mariupol. Somehow he made trips. He came to the basement for one person. Just one person asked him to take them out. When he entered that basement, he said, "I couldn't just leave. There are thousands of people. It's just a nightmare there. People are begging for help. Give me a car. I'll go. Give it to me. I'm not afraid. I'm okay." And he started driving this Nexia to rescue people. And where to take them? Of course, to our children's center. What do we have there? Soft sleeping bags, those frameless furniture pieces, and that's it. The first days we all slept there on our blankets brought from home, on beanbag furniture. And then I again Instagram, the same Serhi. Dennis Sidora is also a very good friend of ours.
This is my former manager.
Super.
Student years.
He helped. They helped us before the war. They helped us a lot. Every week they supported us. And in one day they responded and brought us beds, mattresses, bunk beds. In one day, a shelter appeared in our center. Then little by little, we started doing something. There. We all know our programs, like WCK started feeding these people who were there with us. And after 1.5 to 2 weeks, we already had 50 people there. Then Dima says, "Give me more cars. I don't like it. I can't drive." We started looking for funds. Our faith community from America supported us, bought 2 buses, and we began evacuating people from Mariupol and bringing them. There were no children's activities at all. We also supported families with food packages. I don't know where the funds came from. It's unclear. They were there. We asked. They gave us. We attracted someone. We found something. And then, about the second month from the start of the full-scale invasion, we already had 2 Icarus buses, 5 cars, which were rescuing people from Mariupol and from all the areas where there was horror, and everyone was being taken to our children's center, which was not adapted at all. It was uncomfortable. It was not okay at all, but it was better than people dying there, than people starving there, and so on. And somewhere, probably, the month of April, I sat down and realized, wow, where are we even getting the funds for this? That our budget was always, those years before the full-scale invasion, 180,000 per year. Only. And even then, we didn't need money. We didn't want to deal with it. They brought us food. We searched for clothes on Instagram. We also collaborated with stores, some Instagram, or just our businesses. Everything was like that for us. We didn't need money. And here, you see, fuel, food, some needs of people who just come and tell us, we have nothing to wear. I remember sitting in shelters, waiting for people. I hear, it smells very much. Well, burning, that we are burning. I say, people, something is burning with us. That's it. We are burning. What is burning? But we were not burning. It was a family of 8 who had lived in their apartment for 2 weeks and made a fire there so the smoke wouldn't be seen. They have a child who is 8 months old. Her bottle is all charred. They just lived in their house, hid, made a fire right in the apartment, there, on the 5th floor, somehow ventilated it. Well, it was a nightmare. And every day when you met these people, someone was wounded, someone lost relatives. And you saw the horror that was happening, what was going on, and you understood that you couldn't stop, that you needed to act. You needed to become an answer at least for these people. You can't change the world, but you can change the world around you. You can change the world of those people whom God sends to you today. You can be the answer for them. I realize that, God, our budget is probably 500,000 a month now. I don't know where we get this money from.
It was the start of the full-scale invasion. People just saw that you'd do something and gave you everything they had.
Yes, but I understood that if we want as a team to continue doing this, then we need to think more ahead. We are taking responsibility. We are taking responsibility for people's lives. I understood that this shelter is not suitable for a normal, full life for people who have lost everything. And yes, they do not deserve to have 180 square meters. We're just like that, like sardines in a can. There were bunk beds, where there was one toilet, this one shower. Thank God it was there. We always wanted it, and God knew more than we did. And he knew that we needed this space, which would be safe. This shower, where people who hadn't washed for months would wash. But I understood that people can't live like this. It's not okay. I understood that this is an emergency response. But if we want to continue helping people, providing shelter,
Wait, is it still 3 of you? The team.
there are still 3 of us? There are 4 of us. There are 3 of us plus Dimitro, who evacuated people, and 2 guys we have known for a long time who came to help us in the shelter. One cooked food, and the other came, saved himself from Kurakovi, and became part of this action. He asked for shelter. He came to us and said, "Cool, I will help you." Yes, he started helping people at this place. Well, even in the 4th month, there were 5 or 6 people maybe, who were all volunteers, not even thinking, just giving. I say, there was this joke, this meme on the internet, that before drug addicts would take everything out of the house, and now it's volunteers. And it was like that. And we didn't have a washing machine. They all joke now. Those who know say, "Oh, great. I live near the office. I live near we now have an office. We now have, many rooms, and my building is nearby, and I can just walk there." Everyone says, "Aha, were you looking for something for yourself?" No, it just happened that probably I was looking for something nearby. In short, I took all these things, went home to wash them, for the people, because they all had nothing. I sat there, loaded so many. I didn't sleep at home. I stayed with them, because I felt that I needed to do this. I lived across the street, but I felt more comfortable there. And we all brought everything from home there. I took everything I had from home. And so did our entire team, who had a home here, in Dnipro. So I realized that something else needed to be done. People are not okay with this. They cannot live their lives because we started. Do you know how it happened? Like everyone. A family arrives, they stay for a day, 2, 3, a week, and they understand where to go. When it was Mariupol, when it was there, Sviatohirsk, Tetyanivka, such places, and the beginning of Kharkiv, and everyone decided and went further to another life, but elderly people remained. People who cannot take care of themselves stayed. And we understood that they would be here with us. They have nowhere to go. Unfortunately, we cannot redirect them anywhere because everything is full everywhere. We know that we have a small or big problem with various centers and geriatric ones, and in short, there is something to work on for each of us and for society, in general, for everyone. And I understood that they do not deserve such a life. They want to live their own life a little longer. The war pushed them out of their homes. They were living their lives, living out their years. They had their own little garden. They just had space, at least more than a meter by a meter. I'm like, guys, okay, let's look for partners who will help us find a great place. Let's decide. Either we move forward and improve people's quality of life, find something more than 180 square meters, and people keep coming to us, coming. Well, it's like a transit. And during this time, in 4 months, more than 5,000 people passed through this small shelter. Well, in general, it was like everything was in bad shape, and that carpet, it's not about that, destroyed, and so be it. It's just that people can't live like that for long, and decided, if we don't want to move forward, that's it. We distribute the people. Well, we won't do it here because there are many nuances. People can't live like this anymore. Either we find some place, and then the owner of this place says, "Listen, I have a spot."
Another sauna closed.
Another sauna, by the way. Another sauna. He says, "There is such a place. I don't remember how much the rent was then. Well, expensive for us. All this time we kept paying those 8,000. We agreed, regardless of what was happening. Then we didn't pay for a while because of the war. There were no funds. And then this silk. Well, we had and still have great relations." And he says, "Well, the rent was something up to 50,000 plus utilities. I understood that it was already 100,000 of expenses per month. If Grace works like that, and now there's some responsibility. So to assume, there is fuel for evacuation. This is a separate partner. It's like, how separate that? These are believers, right? At that time, we were supported by Christians who purchased fuel for this large evacuation. We transported 60 to 70 people at a time. Well, there were many evacuations. Then Mariupol was closed off for us when our volunteer was captured. He was in captivity, like that. Many volunteers were captured that day. Thank God, he is fine. He got out of captivity. Well, that was a test for us. So we decided to look at the premises. We arrived, and it was just, wow, 1,300 square meters. Each has separate boxes, a kitchen, 6 restrooms, 5 showers. Well, in short, it's a dream. I was instructing our partners. 7 guys. So, what are we going to do? We already had some international organizations, which we were already in some community. Someone knew us. We got acquainted. We were already communicating with someone. And I said to one organization, guys, that's it. This is it. They was our supporters in evacuation. And evacuation is not just leaving, right? I tell them, listen, there's a great project for you as an organization, and we need to help people. The shelter is great. It will be a great place for people. And they're like, let's do it. I was inexperienced back then, about contracts and so on. Well, great, nice people. Everything's fine, we agreed. They'll help. Everything will be okay. What could go wrong? And we are leaving. We had 95 people there. Many left in transit, but there were always 95 people. And everyone gathered, moved, and everyone was so happy. Seeing that we even had the opportunity to accommodate 3 people per room. Well, it was great because everyone was in one space. And here we at least divided this space a bit, and there was an opportunity, like these little offices were divided into sections. It was really like a sauna, some spa center where they did manicures and some things.
Yes, yes.
And in general, it was all like this for us. Everything we needed, these rooms were divided. Well, and people were happy. And while people were happy, I called this partner, and he stopped answering my calls. Day 1, they are settling in, everyone is happy, and so am I. And they are so happy. Day 2, no one answers the phone. 3, and no one answers the phone. Just ignoring. We waited for about 5 days. Then on the 5th day, the owner calls and says, listen, well, there's a charity story. We had an agreement. But I also have obligations. I provide you with a very big discount. But here's the thing, we had an agreement. And we did have an agreement. I said this with the support of the partner. Well, that's it. I'm being ignored by these people. They are ignoring me, and I sit and cry because I see people celebrating and unpacking things. And I have no money for this. I don't have a single penny. I know that, well, that's it. What to do? Everything is lost. I understand that I won't be collecting this money from people. They have nothing. We can't say, people, let's chip in 100, 200, 50. No, that's a step in the wrong direction. This step at that time was completely not the right step. I went home. I told the owner of this place, give me a couple of weeks and I'll sort it out. I went home. I remember, like this, here's my belief, which helps me sort things out. I say, Lord, I know that you love these people more than I do. 100%. No matter how good or great I am, you love them more. You see how they suffer. You see how hard it is for them. I know that only you can help me now. Let's do something. These are my kind of child prayers. And for 1, 2, 3 days, I had support from volunteers who, when the volunteers didn't have funds, they would give me 2,000 or 3,000 just for my personal expenses so I could, buy shampoo, wash my hair, something like that. Such a story. And there was a girl. She says, how are you? I say, there's no money, no proper structure, nothing. And there's nothing there. And that's it. We help so many people, and that's it. We need to tell everyone that it's all over. This stage where everything is over. Even though I ask God, I understand that I need to do something, not just wait for God to drop something from the sky. And she says, listen, don't worry. I have a friend. He will help you a little. He has a large community there that will gather funds, and we will rent this place. Let's believe. I say, sure, but I have to act. And I call. Oleksiy Katsaluka is our partner, friend, volunteer, who has been living in Mexico for many years. And I told him the whole story. And he was some kind of cool businessman who did some things. He has experience and just a great heart. He says, listen, let me help do something I know. You need to do this and this. And let's apply for grants. I say, what grants? I don't understand. What is this? What grants? We need it today. But for grants, we'll have to wait, from my experience. So I say, such a bad experience. It's always an experience. And we had a situation. They gave us 200,000. What? I don't even remember the name of this organization, but they gave us a grant of 200,000 for purchasing beds, mattresses, and so on. It was a wow for us. But how did they give it? Here's the grant. Here's the contract. Sign it. Well, I think, great. I signed the grant, the contract. I'm happy that people will sleep on beds. Not there, as there's little space. And we also go to our friends, who, and I, don't have much choice. I have 200,000. Aha, beds at Epicenter cost there. Or at some store that can give me everything as needed. Well, now I know how it's needed. Back then, I only needed a receipt or a certificate of completed work, and nothing else was needed. You show it, and everything is fine. I see here 10,000 for one bed, and here 4. Well, the math is simple. 10,000 and 4. So I can take 2 beds for 10,000, and 2,000 will be left for some things, like mattresses and such. We are purchasing these beds from the guys who make fences. Well, they make fences. But during the war, you remember, everyone switched. They were welding beds, bunk beds, some kind of protection, and so on.
I think I also bought from them.
Yes, well, they are such fences.
If it's Dima, yes. I also got some for my shelter from him.
They make really great beds for us. It was simple. But I understand that I didn't understand back then. I took all the documents he gave me. Everything was great. We even paid by bank transfer. It was something for us, because we calculated everything like this. Everything was clumsy, and this too for me. I understood that we needed to become stable. But this foundation didn't fit the story, because they didn't have the special license for making beds.
Very familiar situation, very familiar.
This license issue, and I was like, what? Do you need a license? So, now I'm coming to you, putting you in the car, bringing you to our shelter, where you see 90 people just sleeping on the floor. And they tell me there, you stole this money. I say, yeah, stole. Let's start. That made me so angry. But it was a childish position. Like back then, remember? I told you about the hall, where I wanted to... You don't understand anything? This is help. Well, and I was like, aha, well, so, we had a very unpleasant conversation. They said, well, that's it. We won't help you anymore. You're scammers. I said, okay, that's your opinion. Well, it wasn't like that. But then I sit down and think, okay, well, they started saying about the rules, procurement policy, and the other. I say, great. Who knew about this? Who said anything about it? Where is your mini training for us, who don't understand at all? Well, now we're all so smart. I was very angry. But then I sat down and thought, okay, well, if you want to continue helping people on the scale you want, you understand that. Without this bureaucracy, unfortunately, you can't go anywhere. No matter how much you fight and say, I don't know, with a flag or whatever you're running with these beds and mattresses to these people, that's only your problem. If you want to keep fighting, fight. I want to help, learn. Okay, we started learning with Alexei how to build a charitable foundation. And then I realized, yes, we talked a bit about this, that charity, and that for me a charitable foundation and volunteering are the same thing to this day. But when we encountered such things, I looked at how other charitable foundations work, and sometimes it's not about volunteering at all. But in our time, well, to this day, our charitable foundation is all volunteers. Well, not all. No, not all. 50% of the volunteers, probably, are from the team that exists. Anyway, we started to grow, we started building our fund, we started seeing opportunities. He showed me, aha, here is such a cool thing. There is FinMaps, a very cool thing that will help you. Do you see the budget? Do you know what your budget is? How do I know what our budget is? If needed, we buy. If not needed, we don't buy. We didn't plan. Well, okay, I'll plan. But where will I get this money? And they say, aha, well, if you plan, you can at least know how much you need and look for this money. Otherwise, how do you know how much to look for? I say, well, yes, I can estimate. I roughly know that I need 500,000 or $1 million per month, but that's approximate. How much do you spend on food? How much do you spend, on hygiene? I didn't understand. And we started to build such a mini structure, a budget, which I realized really helps me. Aha. If I know that, for example, I spend 300,000 a month on hygiene, what will I do? Even if there are no funds, I will go and ask, the whole world for this hygiene, right? Like some international organizations or something. I stopped rebelling because I realized that I needed it. People needed it, and I would just waste time on my war and rebellion. I can just learn. It was very hard for me. I didn't understand at all why I was doing it. I thought, God, what? Who? What agreements? What grants? What? 5W? What CPDRS? What? What's happening? It was very hard for me. When you get physically tired, that's one thing. But when your brain gets tired, you think it's going to explode. That's it. Well, I had times when I sat and thought, that's it. I'm losing my mind. Right now, I don't understand. Nothing fits into my head. I can't grasp it. Cried, got up, went, acted, said it wasn't necessary. Then, it is necessary. Well, it was a war with myself. It was a war with growth. And I remember the first time he said, listen, I have an organization called World Vision. There's a program like we had. Like we support children directly. And they support each child directly. Buy them something, give gifts, and so on. He says, I was their private partner. Let's write a grant for them. I say, what grant? Who will give it to us? And I missed a bit of the story when we left our children's center. Well, this shelter. There was a space left that we didn't want to lose, which was 8,000 hryvnias. And still, in my heart, there was a story that we needed to continue helping children because we had already started organizing some children's activities in the shelter. Many children. We organized some activities for children both in the old shelter and in the new one. And we realized that in the future it would be great to have some kind of mini kindergarten or something like that. Well, someone has to do it. Specialists are needed. There's no money. We always ran into this. And I walked through this shabby building, which still remained with us, and looked, thinking, there will never be anything here. Where will we get the funds to do repairs? What to do? There are no funds. But one day, as I say, there are no coincidences. And one day, such a fund, Paramoha,
I collaborate with them.
Yes, and they have those WCK kits.
Nastya.
Yes, Nastya. And they helped, they fed us. Well, we collaborated with them. And I always liked going there. I talked with them. Well, somehow picking up this food with the guys myself. We had buddies there. Well, in short, I like that vibe. And then one of the days I arrived and waited for a long time. There was some shipment, and I was sitting there, in their office. And they were developing some projects. Something here, something there. Let's do this, let's do that. I was like, what? What's going on there? And they said, let's create a project to restore a place that used to be something, then became a shelter, and then the shelter left. And now it's a mess. And I'm like, what? And they just discuss this. I say, listen. And I just run to them from the other room. I say, listen, build us. That's it. The project is ready. We are here. They're like, what? What's happening? What's this? I'm like, sorry, I overheard. But we are that project you're talking about. Go work with us. We had a children's center that worked great. There was a shelter. We destroyed it. It's just a disaster. Your project is being implemented there. That's right. We want a children's center there again. They said, well, okay, let's see. What are the proposals? So I said, we'll do everything quickly. I leave, we write the estimate, the budget. We understand that we need 200,000 to 300,000 to rebuild it inside, to make everything great. We give the girls the project, they say, all right, let's do it. I'm like, wow. Okay, great. There's a point. Let's move on. What will be in this center? Well, okay. It will be a center for helping children. Children who live in the shelter want to have a childhood. Because this war, grandmothers and children. We talk about this war like this, jokingly. Children want to have fun. They want some kind of active activities, while grandmothers want to rest. And they both have the right to it. And let's build the center. We will make our center there again, which will shine even more brightly. We will adapt, socialize, there will be a psychologist, and it will be great there. But in all of this, we had our own internal story. With Valeri, from one of the people. 3 years ago, right during the war, within a week, my son was diagnosed with ASD. What is the story? It's autism spectrum disorder. And when we encountered this situation back then, before the war started, we realized that it requires a lot of funds that children with this disorder have no free support in Ukraine now, unfortunately. There is some, but it's
Well, there are no specialists, no methodologists.
no budget, not much knowledge.
Only parents are involved with them.
Parents who understand how to take care of them are the ones who do it. Because when parents face this problem, there was a story 3 years ago that you don't even understand where to go, what to do. You go to the hospital. They don't diagnose children under 5 years old. To diagnose children under 5 years old, you need to go to Kiev and stay there for a couple of days. Your child will sleep in this kind of thing that is placed on head. It costs like at least 20,000 hryvnias plus accommodation. In short, an average family, without, a middle level, cannot afford it. Well, anyway, that's a separate topic. And we always joked, that when we wanted to help David on our own, we needed a separate fundraising department to work for him. Just to collect money to help David. We understood that we didn't have the resources, time, or anything for this. And during this time of war, Lara was leaving with the child to Western Ukraine, where it was safe. She had 2, now 3 children. Back then, there were 2 children, a small child, David, who was, 3 years old. Well, it was generally scary. War, this diagnosis, which costs, in short, it's unclear. But then, when we were restoring this center, Lara returned and said, "Listen, let's do something for the children. Let's help." I recovered, got myself together, dealt with my feelings, emotions, and we will do something further. And we started working. We renovated the Dream Center. It's called the Dream Center, by the way. We renovated the Dream Center and began simply taking children from shelters and bringing them to the Dream Center. That was the first month of the Dream Center's operation. There, on Corona, there's one such shelter. We took children from there. Our shelter's on Amur. We each did something for them, saw how important it is. It's great. By the way, those at the sea, these are some close contacts. They really need it. Yes, it's great when we're like, "Hey, here's some candy." We come, spin around, and spin them around. But it's cool when we have relationships with these children, and they feel support, knowing there's someone who will support them. And these trips to the sea, or just some communication, are much more needed for them than a jacket, candy, or something else. They need our time more. And what? It was like a trial period. The kids were having fun there, and we started to realize that we needed to learn Laria to cope with our child. Because there were few specialists before the war, and even fewer after. Those who were there have left. We had a complete monopoly. Yes, there, ABA therapists, sensory therapists. Some kind of story. We have one center in Dnipro, which costs a lot of money. Not because they are bad, but because they cannot take care of themselves independently and have to charge for some services. And in general. And then there's this world vision that Lesha mentioned. I say, listen, there is an idea to create a children's center to help children with ASD. And such a children's center that will unite children with developmental differences and children without developmental differences, so they can integrate, socialize.
An inclusive space.
An inclusive space for children where they can receive help and also communicate. Let's write a mini project. We already know how to do that, and submit it. I don't believe that World Vision will give us anything. They are, wow, this is the largest children's aid organization in the world, World Vision. They are also a Christian foundation, and honestly, it's the first time I'm hearing about them because I don't specifically deal with help for children. I generally deal with everyone, so UNICEF is well known, but World Vision, they are the largest, and they have the biggest budget in the world for helping children.
Thank you, I'll keep that in mind.
Yes, reach out, they're great. They helped us a lot to become who I am now, and we wrote a project. The first thing we had there was a children's center. It was also unclear what it would be, but we understood that there would be ABA therapy, which helps children achieve a quality life and learn to take care of themselves. There will be sensory integration and relief. There will be a mini kindergarten for children without special needs, because children and mothers coming from occupied territories need to build their lives. To build their lives, mothers need somewhere to leave their children. At that time, and even now, kindergartens, our state kindergartens, are not working. They work, but only for a few hours. Only private kindergartens, which cost, a lot of money. My child always traveled with me, travels, and now she has started school. But at that time, when I needed to go somewhere, my child was always with me because I couldn't afford to send her to kindergarten. It was very expensive for me. Although I have been living in Dnipro for 6 years, people who arrive today and now, they cannot afford it at all. They are covering some basic needs. And so it's a vicious circle. Do you know why IDPs don't work? Because they cannot work for many reasons. And if we start listing these reasons, not all of them, we understand that there are people who cannot get going. Many people are in a situation where they just can't. We realized, let's open a kindergarten where mothers can leave their children, where they can build their lives, find some work, just to meet social needs. And we will open a kindergarten, well, a daycare center for mothers who have children with autism spectrum disorder, who simply cannot even have a coffee. Because, well, when you live with a child, once, you can understand this. When your environment has such children, woman, it can be understood that sometimes mothers may not sleep at night because children can have such a mood that they will scream all night. They can bite, many behaviors, right? There are different stages. There is multifunctional autism, where children are very smart, but there are some, developmental features. There is autism that is not functional at all, and, in short, moms just need to breathe somewhere. They need to sit somewhere alone, even for 10 minutes, even for 20, even for an hour, while the child is supervised. But with a child with developmental disabilities, when you want to take them to kindergarten, for a typical child, you understand, it's 500 hryvnias. Well, somewhere around, 1,000, per day. And for children with developmental disabilities, it's of course 1,000 per day. Plus, she can't go to kindergarten by herself, she needs a tutor. A tutor costs 500 hryvnias. Plus, there are also necessary activities. Well, in short, it can be 3, 4, 5,000 and endlessly per day, and it's unrealistic. So we wanted to open this space. We wrote a project. The girls from Paramoha also promised us that they would not forget us and would join in. And we succeeded. We won the first grant from World Vision. It was already a miracle, because when World Vision saw us, they came to visit us. We showed them all our projects, what we have. We showed our desire to help children. We showed that we also wish to have a youth club, which we have. We wish to organize celebrations. Even before the war, we used to organize large celebrations for 300 to 500 children at the city level. We want to give children the opportunity to experience childhood. In all this evacuation, in all the shelters, in everything else, we do not want to forget about the children who are very important. And they were like, okay, but we don't know what your indicators are. You know, all international organizations, they want to somehow, see an evaluation. And they didn't know, a big organization, how to evaluate a project to help children with ASD. It's very difficult. And they were like, maybe we can't. But, a miracle happened again. I know that their donor from Finland, who really liked us, said, listen, I want to help children with autism spectrum disorder. Let's give them funds. It's such a supernatural story. And we launched this project. We did a great renovation. We have sensory rooms. We have an inclusive space. We have groups, various technologies, multisensory rooms, and all that. And we did it. We succeeded. In short, we realized that this problem of David's became an answer for many. Lara could have withdrawn into herself and said, what kind of life is this for me? What should I do? But she understood that, okay, I can help my child and make this story an answer for many parents, not just for ourselves. As we joke, all the fundraising would work for him. We decided to open this space where mothers can see it from a different perspective. And that's how it is. Now this center welcomes 60 children monthly, plus many projects we do for 200, 150 children monthly. Every month they come for celebrations. Inclusive, diverse. The great thing is that we probably did this, and every action we took was based on what we ourselves felt. We needed it, and we realized that many people needed it too, yes, and we did it. Well, it's something you go through yourself. I remember thinking, great, now my daughter will go to kindergarten, and she won't have to be, like we had, a little volunteer. She was everywhere with me, fell asleep in the car. I took her everywhere, and it was just a separate type of activity. That's what led to us getting cars, right, some. But at first it was just, who will give a ride? Who is driving? It was such a separate horror when God saw the heart, and we couldn't find a car to transport food packages, because all the cars were for evacuation. And here you need to drive around the city. I'm like, well, what to do? We need cars. Where to get them? Here. Even the heart doesn't allow to collect for a car in Dnipro when it's needed there. Well, it's kind of embarrassing. And you're like, we have guys, a bunch in Odessa. They're cool. And I'm like, guys, you have some there. Let's figure something out. We need a vehicle to transport food packages, to take them to the front line and around here. Basically, we need a light vehicle that can help here. And they said, let's do it. And they gave us 2 cars. It was very funny because they are sporty. The first one is a Honda Civic from some year 2000 something, and the second one is a Ford, also some sporty 2-door. And just so you understand, when we were leaving the epicenter, the whole epicenter was laughing because everything was sticking out of these cars. We were transporting the untransportable in these cars. And there, these cars also carry people, and they still serve us. And that's really great. Thank you guys for being there at that time, because it was like a miracle for me then. In general, when this kindergarten appeared, I realized that my child would at least experience childhood. And it was great. You know, when our children, they communicate. They still communicate with children with developmental differences. They don't feel that barrier. When I was 16 or 15, well, more conscious, I was raised in a great family. I was given all the principles, but I was never close to a person who is...
Here's a parallel universe for you.
Yes. And when I was near a person with developmental disabilities or a disability, yes, I didn't know what to do. I just sat there and didn't know. Maybe I was sitting inside thinking, should I offer something now or not? And it was terrible. And no one told me anything. But here it's great that our children, you know, are completely without barriers. We have Misha, he has vision disorders, and he has some other diagnoses. Yes, not very encouraging. And he has physical disabilities. Not, you know, not mental, but physical. And our kids, they are not afraid of anything at all. Misha, let's go. Cool. Look, we'll help you. Can't you see this? Well, in short, they are so great. You see that they are not afraid, and they already... It makes you want to create more barrier-free spaces. But with the understanding that, yes, when there are educational processes, they can interfere with each other in getting that, the education they need. That's why our center is divided into 2 parts. There is a part for neurotypical, and there are neuroathletic, yes, children who receive the education they need, according to their age, according to their knowledge, and so on. And there are places where they play, eat, like playgrounds, common spaces that do not interfere with educational processes. But we have a goal. We have these 2 spaces. We want to help the child grow to the point where they can transition to a typical group and interact with other children. Because what's important here is when parents, you know, bring the child and say, yes, socialize them and make them interact with other children. And they don't ask the child if they want this or not. Well, he doesn't need it at all. It's stressful for him. When he moves from his environment to one with 10 to 15 neurotypical children, all shouting and doing things, he's just in shock. Of course, he starts biting, screaming, and whatnot. And we won't help this person, this child, until we build a relationship with him. A lot of bureaucracy is the story in Ukraine when, you know, parents receive free, like, hours, rehabilitation hours for their children, like 10 or 12, and they want to manage to give something to the child in that time. But there are such stories, and many of them, when the child needs to build a relationship with this educator so that they trusted this person so that they could receive from him. That's a plus we have in the center. And it also seems to me a plus of such a Christian story, that, you know, we can set up cameras and monitor 24/7. Well, we have cameras there for educational processes. But we understand that we have a main camera that watches over us in general, whether there are cameras or not. And we want, well, the foundations we have, when we do this truly from the heart, when we understand that the specialists who come, children are something more to them than just work. They communicate with the children, they build relationships with them, they see meaning in what we do. And there are many girls who work in our center. These are girls who needed help. They lived in our shelter, whom we evacuated. They have a pedagogical education, which we slightly adapted to the developmental features of children. They study there, go through various modules, and so on, and so on. Well, in short, all this is part of a great miracle. We succeeded. This center is working. It is currently helping children and will continue to help. Our dream is to create such centers across the entire country. In short, our dream is to make help for children immediately accessible, so that parents have accessibility. Because here, it's like this. When parents realize that everything comes down to money, they start to feel depressed. What kind of parents are they if they can't afford their child's education? Well, in short, it's a vicious circle, and it's very hard for a person to build a life in a new place. In general, just for any person, and for a person who also has a child with developmental disabilities who needs help. And in short, it's just a circle. And we have such support for parents, such partnership relations with every parent. We want to help families. We understand that a happy family means a happy child. A happy child means a happy family. This is how it is. It's the joint work of everyone. Parents cannot leave their children and say, "That's it, a magic wand will do something." And we can't do that. When we do something together with the parents, when the parents understand how important it is for them, when we understand, as specialists and just people who help, that it is important, then it falls into place.
Wow. Thank you very much for what you do. Listen, I don't even know what to ask because you've told everything. I want to wish you that all your projects come true. Thank you very much for what you do for the children. This is very important now. Everything will work out for you. Thank you for coming to us today.
Thank you very much.
I liked it today. I learned a lot today.
You have to stop me, because I can speak endless. Because even if we talk about tuberculosis assistance, which was born from the fact that people who lived in the shelter, they went on to build their lives, renting apartments and so on, and they needed some help, like with food, hygiene, and so on. And we started doing this, collecting food packages and distributing them in the shelter. Then there were 300 people, and we see that we cannot do this in the shelter. We started distributing food. Every Sunday, there was a food distribution in Dnipro, at the Kosyora Cultural Center, for people who arrived. And this year we were involved in a large project with the World Food Program, with WFP, and we are providing humanitarian aid to 100,000 people per month in the Donetsk region. And so I say, when there was a desire to feed one person, it turned into such a story. When we are now feeding almost 100,000 people, well, there are fewer of them now. Almost everyone has been evacuated. There is one Pokrovsky district. This is our area that we have been feeding, starting from Dobrpilia, from Pokrovsk, and ending with Kurakov and Hernik. And now we are feeding 52 people there. In short, I want to say one thing, that when you have a heartfelt desire to do something truly sincere for people, this desire can turn into something you don't even understand. When I was riding in the elevator with these 20,000 hryvnias from Serhiy, I understood that this is not the end. But I didn't understand where we would be today. And I want to keep in my heart the only thing, so that it doesn't change, so that it doesn't stick to itself, changes for the better, and doesn't change, with bureaucratic stuff. Some stories that we sometimes have to go through to get something. I want to remain the way God sees us. The way we should be, that's all.
Thank you very much. This is the right and precise conclusion to our conversation today. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I hope this gives someone the strength to move forward.
Or someone will hear you and be like, "Oh, I want to help," and give you some money.
This will be good. They are always needed.
And for this person, God's grace.
Well, maybe so. But that's for God to decide. All right, thank you. Thank you for everything. Because when believers think they can speak for God, I don't think so. I want to know that, and to say that every person who does good will definitely reap it. They will definitely receive something great from God. And it is much more than something great from people.
Understood. Thank you.